Andriy has introduced me. Thank you very much. I didn't just came to Russia. I live here now. I've been working with Frost Sullivan some time. I have about 14 years of management consultancy experience. and Frost Sullivan, very briefly, why we are here and why we are speaking about the technologies. Frost Sullivan is an international consultancy company and market research company, but the difference is we specialize in technologies. Okay, the company, we have celebrated 50th years anniversary. That's 50 years. I wasn't there from the beginning, obviously, but the company started in New York about researching technologies for the defense sector. Okay, how many of you are from the technology universities? Okay, and how many are business schools? Just business. Okay, all right. Gives me an idea who to address and how to speak to you. Okay, so you probably know that majority of new technologies, they came from the defense sector. Okay, the defense sector invests the majority of the funds, majority of money spent by anyone is by the defense sector, and then very often the technologies are being commercialized into our lives. Okay. So that's how we started. We started looking into the defense sector in the United States and looking, what can be used in other people's lives. Just very nice. I want to tell you a nice story before I start the whole presentation. This technology 50, the technology vision 2020, this research, the idea for the research started about 4 years ago, and actually started here in Russia. Okay, despite that we have about 40 offices around the world, the idea started here. I was asked by a friend who is running a venture capital biotechnology venture capital here in Moscow to talk about to banks and venture capitals here in Russia and to finance people here in Russia about high tech. What is hot now? What to invest? What is going to be the new money maker? So I was speaking to colleagues of mine in the US and in India, what to talk about, to Russians about what is hot next. And we came up with the idea about top 10 high tech to invest. Okay. And some of our analysts from different parts of the world put together very quickly the top 10 technology to invest around the world. And I've presented here in Moscow. I think it was 4 years ago or so, and since then it became so popular. After that, I think the very next day we have published an article which has been picked up absolutely everywhere in the world. Okay, from Silicon Valley, London, Milan, Australia, New Zealand, absolutely everywhere, and it was exactly like this: my name and Moscow. Okay, and nobody ever questioned that these ideas came from Russia. Okay, it is not a very nice idea because it is expected that good ideas on technologies do come from Russia. Okay, it was a global effort. Nevertheless, the presentation, the top 10 high tech to invest, which had massive effect not only in media, Twitter, absolutely everywhere. Funny enough, the first people who pick up the top 10 was New York Stock Exchange. And the companies which are working in the top 10 technologies we have identified, their market share went up after that. Okay, so you can imagine how powerful it was, how important it is. Okay, so this is just very very brief introduction and a little bit anecdote about Russia that everybody is expecting from you guys to come up with great ideas. Okay, so no pressure. If I can have a next slide, please. Okay, so what I'm going to talk today about an hour or so, I will explain the logic of the Valley of Death, okay, then diffusion of innovation, and then we will go through the top 10 hot technologies, okay? Next slide. Okay, yes? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. And now it will be complicated. Hang on. Yeah. If you can just hold on for a second. Okay, so very complicated, looks like, right? the word of innovation. When we think very often, especially at the university, about technology, science, we always think about laboratories and scientists and complication and everything. And actually, it's coming up with a good innovation is just the beginning. Okay. It's just the beginning of journey, because nowadays what is important when it comes to innovation, new technologies, is what happens next. Because there's so much around, so many new ideas, technologies around, that actually what is the most important, how we're going to take it to the market. Okay, and this is how everybody, including the people who are innovating, students, need to think like this. Okay, we're not creating new technologies, high tech or whatever, science, just because we think it's fun. I mean, some people can do, but if, like, Bill Gates is doing now in biotech, but he can afford that. But actually, what we have to think about, what's going to happen next after we innovate, we find something. Okay. And this is a little bit complicated. I'm not going to explain in details. By the way, the whole presentation, Nikolai, we will distribute later, right, to everyone. So you will have a copy of all those slides. So the innovation center, the universe of innovation, there's a lot of different components. You can look one by one in your own time. But it's about, different type of technologies, emerging technologies, disruptive technologies. It's about the IP protection. It's about the technology transfer, about everything. There's a lot of homework to be done before it actually became a success. Okay? And why is it also important for you? I don't want to talk to you, and I was talking to Andrea, when we were planning the session, why we want to talk to you about this top 10 high tech to invest. Not because we don't want to talk to you about the gadgets, to ask you Sunday evening in particular, talk about gadgets. It's very, very important for you because, one, you have much, much harder life than people before, your parents. Because when they were living in universities, they could find jobs for all their lives. Okay, big corporations were employing people. I remember when I was living in university, and back then in the UK, Arthur Andersen was employing like 1,000 people per year. This is not happening. Nobody is employing so many people anymore. That's why young people, students, have to find their own way. Some of you will find jobs in a big corporation and make career, but some of you will have to find your own way. And technologies, it's a tool, it's a guidance how to make your own way through life and become also successful and have interesting life. And on top of it, who doesn't want to be the next Facebook owner, right? And become billionaire and so on. But one of the social actually phenomenon we see is because younger people have much, much harder life. And another reason why it's so important about the technology is because it's a hope that things will be better. I don't want to give you too many great ideas or talk about social issues, but there's so many things happening right now. The natural disasters happen. Last year was one of the record apparently. And other problems, environmental problems, and so on. And these things can be solved in much faster pace because of the technologies. Okay. If you can, press the next slide. Okay, the valley of death. Okay, so about 80%, what we have, 80 to 85 even percent of new technologies, of ideas, are going to fall into the valley of death. Have you heard before about the valley of death concept? No? No? Okay. Well, some of you heard. I will just repeat. So, when the scientists come up with idea, innovators, researchers, and so on, they have idea, and majority of them fall into the valley of death, basically disappeared, and not because they are bad ideas, but because they do not find the business model for it. Okay, they are not. I give you example. For years, there have been fantastic medical device about a little device where you could buy in pharmacy, where you can just touch, lick or a drop of blood or something, and basically would tell us what we are sick of. So we don't have to go even to a doctor's, of course, if this is not severe illness, but something like this. So kind of small diagnostic device. Wow, it's a really, really great idea. It has been for years around, but did never take to the market because it's not a good business model for it. Not because people wouldn't buy it, I'm sure they will, but because the big pharmaceutical companies are too protective of their market, okay, to introduce to the publics. Okay, so this is an example that didn't take to the market space. Another example, we have a technology which is around also for some time, is a flying cars. Okay, it's not science fiction; it's for real. They're very expensive, but they do exist. Okay, but again, non-government would like to take it, will agree to take to the market and actually approve it in terms of legislation. You can imagine drunken drivers on the ground. You can imagine people being, this is not great responsibilities. It's just too dangerous. So there are a lot of great ideas, a lot of great discoveries, but they did not find the right funds, interest, and most importantly, the business model to go to the market. Okay, that's why there are 80% of them. So this is so important to focus on the right ones. Actually, I'm going to put this. It's so important to focus on the right ones, because you can imagine, especially for the financial institutions, okay, for banks, venture capitals, which those are the people who are co-investing in new technologies. Because what if they are investing in the wrong things? Okay, you will die. It's such a risky thing. Biotechnology is one of the very good example, because it takes such a long time to develop a new drug, new medicine. And if you invest in wrong, you lose a lot of money, right? So this is so important to focus on the right technologies, which will not only great, but also have a good business model, will go to the market. People will want to buy it, or will have applications somewhere in the industry. By industry, I mean, whatever. Is it either pharmaceuticals or energy market or automotive, whatever, industry in general, okay? So what does it take? What does it take for the success, for this 20 to 15% to go to the market, right? We call it the investor's guide. Usually take the public and private sector. Public, this is the governments, okay? The best scenario is when both are collaborating and co-investing in the new ideas and technologies. And of course, both, the governments have a different reasoning for investing in new technologies, and the private investor different. Of course, the private investors, easy to guess, they are looking into the profitability, and the private investors, it could be anyone. It could be big corporations, could be venture capitals, private equity in smaller spec, some banks, business angels, and so on. Okay, and they are interested in the return on the investment. And in some sectors like ICT, the telecom sector, they are they are really, really hungry of it. Corporations, Cisco, Microsoft, all of them, they're not thinking about today, about tomorrow. They are thinking much, much further in advance, not to be out of the market. Okay, and public sector, why they are driven, why they have to co-invest in the new technologies, and because they are obliged to. Okay, they have to, because they have obligation towards societies, towards the citizens, to invest in technologies to improve our lives. Okay, one of the examples is renewable technology, renewable energy. European Union, I don't know how much how much they are investing in renewable energy. It's a massive, massive thing, and the governments are sponsoring pretty much so much in the renewable energy. If not the subsidies from the governments of the European Union or other countries, I don't think that anybody would be talking about renewable energy. Okay, but because there's so much problems with the environment, the governments are forcing, by introducing new legislations, to invest companies. Companies have to invest in innovating in renewable energy. Just give you an example. Okay, Germany is a very good one. because they are scrapping all nuclear power plants right now, and they have very, very ambitious plans. Whole European Union by 2020, I think 20% of the energy have to come from renewable energy, so from solar, from wind, hydro, and so on. Germany has increased just for themselves even more. It's a massive, and this is only forced by the government by introducing new legislations. Okay, and a little bit we see a little bit here in Russia. I know there's a lot of energy sources here, so they don't have to, but the government here and the state, not the government but the state, also have to be part of the global market, of the renewable energy market, and we see already in for example, the LED lighting. Okay, gives you idea, right? Okay, next slide, guys, if I can have. Okay. Yes. Oh, thank you. Okay, the diffusion of innovation. This is a little bit about the methodology, how we have been, how we've been doing this research about this technology 50. I mean, Frost Sullivan is following all these different technologies for years. This is just an example. This technology vision is just an example of one of the outcomes. So I think there was about 50 analysts, if I'm correct, 50 analysts from 6 continents working for 15 months, coming up to this research, these 50 technologies, and they have interviewed, people in the governments, people in different government organizations, venture capitals, private equities, banks, innovators, R&Ds, big corporations. They interviewed absolutely everyone possible, probably, to come up with the results, and they have. Then they put this into against different criteria, and diffusion of innovation is the development, of the thinking, how the innovation should be evaluated. So for the good innovation, what it has to be the need, right? So there has to be demand, the business model, right? Opportunity. Okay, opportunity could be whatever. It could be environmental, social, right? A push, suddenly something happened which accelerate some innovations. Unfortunately, the Second World War was one of the biggest accelerators of technologies, because it was opportunity for some others. I think right now the opportunity is the cyber technology. All of defense companies around the world invest not in building guns, but in cyber. Okay, so this is opportunity for this ICT market and defense market coming together, and funding. Okay, again, the public and private, the best if they come together, and also capability, if it's actually possible to do, if it's doable. Yeah, okay, I will be speaking a little bit about batteries. This is something has a great demand for very long time, great opportunity in different sectors, and a lot of funding, but it still doesn't have the capability. They are still working on it. Okay, and then we see the combined influence, the companies, universities, R&Ds, institutes, and so on, so on. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking the slide before about the Valley of Death. The 80 to 85% new technologies die, okay, in the Valley of Death. And another very important number, worth to remember, about 70 to 75% of new technologies come from startups, from innovators, okay? Only 20-25% of new technologies, of the big innovations around the world, are actually coming from the labs of big corporations. Okay, it's very interesting because in order for innovations to really blossom, to really take up, it needs to be the ecosystem. Okay, the environment. Ecosystem, nothing to do with environment. The whole environment, and this is the most difficult thing to do. Silicon Valley has the environment. Okay, because there is so many startups, innovators, and so on. Russia does not have the ecosystem yet. It's still building and progressing. Right now, we have more the big corporation and state actually giving the push about innovations. And also the legislation is not mature enough for young people to do so many startups like we have in Silicon Valley or in Boston area. Okay, but this is very, very important. It's absolutely necessary for the best innovations, best ideas, because it doesn't have to be even with technology. It has to be with some social idea to actually take up and come from one mind, couple of people. Very often it's a couple of students who speak over the lunch in the cafeteria or in the student house. That's how it usually starts. Okay, one of the best, I know that Russia look up very often to the Silicon Valley. Another great example is Texas. If you take Texas, massive rich state, which actually if you take it separately, it could be a separate country, outside of the United States, and will be still one of the 10th richest in the world. And how they started, despite that they have so much oil, they started with small businesses. That's the success. Okay, very, very important. So it's another reasons for you to think, how you can make your own way forward. All right, next one, please. And just the last slide about explanation about the diffusion of innovation. What makes a successful innovation? Okay, we talk about the valley of death. We about the startups. We talk about the public interest, the private interest, and also very important success criteria is for the innovation to have many applications. Okay, this is an example of a wireless sensor network which has been for years available. Okay, and what is very important, you can see the early adopters started 2006, 2007 in the industrial automation. Okay, then another industry picked it up, the healthcare industry. What is it? 2 years later. Then another, the environment and agriculture. Then nuclear plants, space, and so on. So many other industries followed. Okay, the early adopters, the followers, the laggers. Okay, they adapted the same technology, of course, changing over these years. But that's what makes success of the innovation of this technology. This has so many applications. Okay, nanotechnology. Why is so successful? Because it has applications absolutely everywhere. So it has sources of the funding from so many industries. Okay, that's what makes the success of the innovations, not just for one, but for many. Okay, all right, next one. And this is about methodology. I talk a little bit about it. You can skip that one. Okay. And here we go. This was the results of the really hard work of those guys around the world, the analysts. I know, very complicated. So they came up with this calculating all these technologies, innovators, scientists, developers, governments, and so on and so on. They came up to top 50 technologies. That is top 50 technology web. And they put this into 9 different clusters. Okay. The life science and biotechnology, medical devices, imaging technology, advanced manufacturers, sensors and automation, materials and coating, conventional energy, information communication technology, microelectronics, clean and green technology. Okay, the 9 clusters they kind of put together in order to organize all these top 50 technologies being currently the most invested around the world. Okay, because they found the right business models, they found the right funding, and they are on the way, or already available in the market, or on the way to the market. Okay, because they have really strong reasons for it. And to explain to a little bit, don't worry, I'm not going to go one by one, otherwise we spend all night here. But I will show you the top 10. Okay, to give you idea why they are so interesting, why they are so important, and why it is worth it to focus on it. Okay, if you can do the next one. Okay, the top 10. Okay, the first one is a nanotechnology. Okay, popular in Russia, thanks to Rustanotech. But you know, some people hate it. Some people, so when they see the fest, like, oh no, I can't stand nanotech. I can't hear about Russell anymore. Well, you like it or not, but it is, okay? The nanotechnology is the most invested in around the world, and exactly because it has so many applications. Okay, it has applications in agriculture, in the healthcare, in the cosmetic industry. Actually, recently we did a very interesting project for one of the biggest cosmetic companies in France. You know, designing facial creams, which will go to the market. You know, the nanotech one to make us perfect, and in the energy sector, okay, it has so many applications. That's why it's so much popular. This is so much invested. This is so much interesting, and the way how we do it, you know, technology adoption, we give scale from 0 to 5, and technology maturity the same from 0 to 5. Nanotech is currently right in the middle, so there's still a lot to do in terms of the R&D, but already is being taken to the market, and we already know that this is great opportunity for many, okay? And why? I don't know how many of you are familiar what is about the nanotech, all right? Do you know pretty much? It's small, right? It's small. Okay, this I'm not a scientist, so I'll explain how I understand from the business perspective. Okay, so nanotech is the small catalyst. Okay, and because it's a small catalyst, it has this capabilities to for the raw materials to perform better. Okay, to take out much more from the raw materials we are using, you know, whatever the organic raw materials to behave better. Okay, and it's not that difficult actually to do, and it's becoming cheaper, and also it's ecologically friendly, it's environmental friendly, which is top number one priority right now in the whole innovation world. Okay, that's why this is what about the nanotech. Okay. This year we see a lot of what's happening in the nanotechnology industry, especially the Middle East. I think, if I remember well, they invest a lot in the alternative energy and oil and gas sectors for the fuel conversions. Okay, it's a really big deal right now, which is taking up. Okay, next one. This is just give you example. You know, I pick up few slides. The nanomaterials, the technology development and adoption footprint by different regions. Okay, the US, Europe, Middle East, India, and Australia. Why they are investing and who is investing in what. Okay, this is how thorough. Just pick up few slides to give you an idea. Don't read it right now. To give you an idea. Of course, US is the top one. You know, by the color you see very high the adopters. To very low, who is the most invested in. Okay, Russia is not doing bad. Yeah. In here, it's basically the measurement of the funds and of the institutions, how much they're investing into it. Pretty much, yes. Okay, and also the it is the biggest, but also the number of institutions they're investing, and not just adopting the technology into the market, but, you know, doing more R&D and so on in the market. Okay, it's just give you an idea who is investing in whom. Okay, smart textiles is another interesting one. The easiest way to explain smart textiles is about the last Olympics. Where was it? Greece, right? The Summer Olympics, yes. And there were fantastic performances by the swimmers. Were beating world records like nobody, and one of the reasons was because they were equipped in smart textiles, which allow them to perform better. Okay, a little bit sad. This is not human capacity, but never mind, they've done it well. So this is one example of the smart textiles. But again, it comes from the defense sector, okay, and is now being commercialized in other industries. Great adapters are healthcare. You have bandages, they're still expensive, bandages or different wear, which tells you pretty much how somebody is, has what fever has and so on. Different, you don't have to bleed, but bandage actually shows you what kind of level of infection you have, all kind of adoptions. Firefighters, people in general who are working in extreme conditions, weather conditions or situations, dangerous situations, they also wearing more and more the smart materials. Yeah, this is pretty much material which is a little bit incentivized, if I can say, by some electronics. Sports smarts, what else was there? It's very, very spread. It's a niche still market, and I think the industries are still trying to figure out how to really use it and utilize the smart textiles. I hope this was my first winter in Russia this year, and I hope we can use the smart textiles to prevent ourselves, from this massive cold here in Russia. Idea for business, I suppose. But another, so far I've seen in London a shop with the smart textiles. We can buy a T-shirt. Of course, they're very expensive, and this is just a gadget. But you can wear a T-shirt, and basically it shows you you can wear it, and if you are hot, it gets red. If you are cold, it gets green, and so on and so on. But hopefully, it'll be much more better use of the smart textiles. Next slide. And very quickly about the funding trends. Who is interested in this gives you idea what it will go, which markets will go. Military, of course, they are very interested in this because it's about the soldier uniforms. They want to make it as efficient as possible. One funny story I heard from the analysts who were talking to me about the smart textiles. You remember from children's stories, the invisible blanket? I can't remember which story it was. Will actually exist. Okay. I don't know how it works, but they told me that it is something which, in connection with sunlight, human eye cannot see it. And in military, they're using right now to cover some of the military equipment, tanks, and so on, so it's not visible from the satellite. Okay. So yes, we have now we have to commercialize the invisible blanket, and idea who might be interested, right? So yes, military, of course, the healthcare and the sports, but so far, okay, but a lot of investment happening there. Very, very important technology, and it has been so many investments for so many years in advanced batteries, okay, and energy storage. You are familiar with this because it's about our laptops, okay, to have the best performing batteries, our phones and other devices. We want to have as many hours as possible to use our computers and other devices without actually being able to charge. But actually, what is for the industries extremely important, you have the fuel cells, you have the electric vehicles, okay. I know that in Russia right now the electric vehicles rather just interesting, but in Europe, I'm more familiar with, say, in West Europe, how it's happening. It's still very expensive, it's still ugly, but they're working a lot on it. And one of the reasons is because the governments are forcing. Okay, this year, from the 1st of January 2012, for example, in France, they have introduced a law that every public building, new built building, okay, which is a supermarket, government building, private, public, doesn't matter, has to have a plug for electric vehicles. Okay, so we did recently an interesting project for a French supermarket chain. They came to us, come on, we are selling bread and potatoes, and now we have to sell electricity. How to because the government told us, this is how fast it's changing. And but the batteries are very, very important for the electric vehicles, and a lot of it is happening, in this space. They're absolutely desperate to introduce this in especially the big cities, the smart cities as they call it. Micro UAV, Are you familiar with this? This is the flying car concept, right? You might see sometimes on the news the drums. Okay, I know that there have been few bought here in Russia as well. The drums. This is the planes without pilot, just being electronically controlled. So when you have the drums, the planes, military planes mainly, I don't think they're using for transporting people over Afghanistan or something to drop the bombs and so on. It has been used also for other reasons, just military. For example, in the firefighting, when you have in California or Spain, I've seen big fire, like the forest fires. They sometimes send the drums because it's very dangerous for people. So this is a lot of, but they need massive, great batteries, yeah, in order to really take forward. Soldier modernization as well. You know, there's a lot of about batteries in the uniforms. Human energy harvesting. It's an interesting one, and I've seen it actually. It's a batteries which do being powered from your body, from your own human energy. Okay, so. In the next few years, we will not need to charge our iPods or whatever, and we will be just walking around, and by producing our own energy, we will capture this energy to charge our own phones or something like this. Okay, again, needs good batteries. But one of the biggest, if you can show the next slide, one of the biggest need for really good batteries is the energy market. Okay, that's why you see a lot of R&D funds going for the grid scale. Okay, transportation, this is all about the electric vehicles, yeah, but also for the grid scale is about the energy market. It's about smart grid, creating the smart grids. Have you heard about smart grids? Yeah, it's about you have smart meters, smart grids. Smart grid, it's a energy. It's a part of energy distribution. Okay, right now we have we have energy distribution center, heating plant, nuclear plant, whatever. They distribute energy to our homes, schools, and so on. And a lot of it, 20%, some places even 50%, are pretty much the energy escaped. Okay, during the distribution process, or the energy, the power plants producing energy all the time, but at night we sleep, okay? So the energy, when we switch off the light, it's being wasted again. So what is smart grid? Smart grid is about capturing all this energy, okay? When we sleep, we accumulate this energy. That's why we need very good batteries. And later during the day, we can reuse it, okay? And it's a massive, plans about it because, the pricing will change. Of course, we will pay much less for the energy at night, and it's, and it will be much more environment friendly. So it's a big, smart grids is a big thing right now in the energy market. There is no perfect smart grid right now in the world. I think it's one pretty good one already in the United States, but still, they do need very, very good batteries in order to capture this energy and keep it, okay? Next one. Okay, this one you can skip it because I'm not going to go into different technologies. You can go to the next one. So again, thin film PV. This is the solar, okay? I was surprised to see this. Because I thought, solar is old. People lost a lot of money on this. I've seen so many companies investing in solar energy, and they lost so much money in it. And I was surprised to see in the top 10 why they're still investing in solar. I mean, one of the reasons is because China is crazy about solar, and they are investing apparently an enormous amount of money. They created a massive fund which nobody else apart from China wants to join, but. This is a special solar. This is a very thin foil, okay, and one of the reasons it's venture capitalists in particular invest so much in it because it's cheap, okay. It's cheap for us as a consumer to buy it and use it, and it's not only from the sun but from daylight. Okay, and we can use it anywhere. It's basically very, very thin foil when you can put anywhere. You can buy in rolls and you can put anywhere and gives you some energy. Okay, you can use it. That's why, because it's easy to use it? Is it applicable? And anywhere. And it be used for anything, not just for home usage, but for anything else. Okay, that's why so much still R&D is being put into this thin film PV. Okay, next one. The funding trends, not so interesting. Renewable chemicals. Okay, very interesting here in Russia, I think in particular, because look at the first sentence. Renewable chemicals refer to the development of environmentally friendly, sustainable chemicals that can be used to replace traditional petrochemicals. Okay. I don't think there's a danger to oil sale here in Russia yet, but you know, if on one hand this might seem like a threat to the big countries which are selling so much oil. On the other hand, it could be opportunity. Okay, because the renewable chemicals, this is pretty much environment-friendly chemicals made out of natural resources, usually the agricultural resources. Okay, and Russia is massive, has so much. I know that a lot is Siberia and it's quite cold, but I do believe that the technology is so advanced already that this could be also used, and the renewable chemicals could be one of the technology being developed, especially here. Okay, the environment friendly. I mean, a lot right now is being used in plastic. Somewhere you have plastic bags, not paper, but plastic bags, which we see that is fully recyclable. Is already made from these renewable chemicals, and actually one of the biggest investors are the big petrochemicals companies in Middle East. Okay. And also what is good about it, the many countries are dependent on the oil prices, and we've seen what happened in recent years when the economies went up and down because of the petrol prices went up and down, and this could actually stabilize the market and prevent this happening going forward. Okay, next one. Advanced manufacturing. How to explain in a very very easily. This is a smart factory concept. Okay, this is merging the traditional factory floor with the high tech and ICT and IT, telecoms and communication. Okay, it's more about automation, introducing automation into factories. It's about less using people to operate these factories. It's about better predictions, how to produce, what to produce in the longer term. One of the most developed actually specification for the smart manufacturing is the prediction of the life cycles of different products, because in some developed markets you have these life cycles of products, and this depends on the production planning and sales. One of the reasons why so much investment in this happening, because many developed countries do not want to be dependent anymore on China, okay, and frankly speaking, and on the massive manufacturing capabilities, okay, China, India, and so on. But also, it's not about giving opportunity for smaller size businesses, not just big corporations, to outsourcing to China, India, or Malaysia, whatsoever. But also giving them opportunity to have the manufacturing capabilities in their own countries, okay? And by actually having the smart factory, it gives them the opportunity, okay? It just gives you it's an advanced concept, and I do believe it's quite expensive to implement right now, especially for something like traditional industry such as manufacturing. They are very traditional, the way how they think, how they do things, and then ICT industry, the IT and telecom industry, which are very fast, very high-tech savvy. So it's a challenge here, but the convergence of these different technologies gives opportunity to create this smart factory. Okay, and also the other reason is because, especially in Europe, if you notice over those years, they have outsourced everything. Yeah, they have outsourced absolutely everything. And now it's like, well, probably was not the best idea, right? Because we have a crisis and we have a lot of people unemployed. What we're going to do about it? So now they're thinking, okay, let's bring our manufacturing, of course, not possible everything, but bring our manufacturing capabilities back to our countries. Okay, so what Russia is doing, with this massive investment in manufacturing is actually good thing. Something which the West European and other countries are coming back to these ideas. Okay, next one, and like I said, who is interested in especially in the innovating technologies in the smart factories, North America and Europe, because they want to revitalize their manufacturing capabilities, driven by the economic challenges they are facing right now, but also social challenges. Okay, they have so many unemployed people; it's a big problem, and they have to do something with it. Of course, China and India have to do it as well, not to be out of the business and continue to offer good products, good manufacturing capabilities. Right. One good example. What good example of the smart factories? By introducing high tech to factories, companies by default will have to collaborate much more. Okay, because it doesn't make sense for one big corporation to invest so much in one thing and the other do the same, and so on and so on. They do start sharing some of their thoughts, some of the innovation, of course, very difficult, but their capabilities, because it's just cheaper. Okay, and I give you example just to maybe explain better. Two big rivals, Apple and Samsung. Okay, especially as you know, there's a massive war, the tablet war, the iPad and the Samsung Galaxy, right? And they sue each other, they hate each other, they still, it's a big rivals. But do you know who is the biggest manufacturer of Apple? Exactly. They are the biggest manufacturer of their products at the same time. And the tablets, but also for their phones. They might be choosing, but they don't want to lose them as a customer, because it's not about just tablets. They produce for them the chips for the phones, for everything. So they do, and they fight for them. Actually, Samsung, I think this year or going the next few years, has the biggest expenditure of capex in manufacturing in order to keep Apple as a customer. And this was like a record spending of $12 billion to build new factories to fight for Apple. So it's a very important, the whole manufacturing ideas and capabilities, and that's why so much is being invested into smart factories. And next one, 3D integration. This is the chip, microelectronics chip. We want to have everything faster, everything smaller. So there's a lot of, the chips. I'm not going to give you the technology specification, but you have these nanometers, and they want to have everything much smaller, faster, and better performing. Okay, this is why there is so much work done into the 3D integration, the 3D chip. Okay. Next one, flexible electronics. Flexible electronics. That's, for example, if this monitor will be very thin, it will be little foil, which already have seen it, and it was, I think, last 2 weeks ago in Barcelona, this the exhibition of the electronics, and was LG show a massive TV, which was a foil. Okay, and the performance of the colors was excellent. It was really, really good. And this is about flexible electronics. And also they are not destructive. I've seen people using little iPads, smashing and pouring water on it is absolutely in resistance. So it's for us to have, all electronics, consumer goods, flexible, not easy to destroy, swim with your watch into the water. It's a lot about advertising and using this applications absolutely everywhere. We heard recently about, the book or pamphlet with a little foil when you open, and there's the TV inside, all kind of gadgets. But this is the next big thing. You had this different panels, evolution, and the 3D. I don't think is going to take off because people are too lazy to wear glasses to watch TV, and it's not comfortable. But definitely the thin foil, the flexible electronics, it's the next big thing. Majority of this big Korean electronic manufacturers spending absolutely fortune in their labs on developing this. Okay, and so yes, consumer electronics, but medical devices, packaging as well. The pharmaceuticals investing a lot in this as well. Okay, like supply chain, food packaging. That's a lot of applications. Okay, next one. The patent landscape. Yes, just one slide to remind you about the patent, international patents. How extremely important it is when you come up with your ideas. Make sure you think about it, okay? Because I do come across here in Russia with great ideas, nice ideas, but then the companies or even individuals just don't patent this and don't even think about it, okay? So when you think about the patent, it's not just somebody can steal your idea. Yes, this is danger number one. Danger number two, you actually could be. You can introduce to the market, find a good sponsor, but then it might happen that somebody else developed this somewhere else in the world at the same time like you, and they patent, and then they will sue you, okay, and you are bankrupt. And we've seen this actually happening recently a lot around the world. One of this is the tablets wars is one of this as well. Okay, next one. Semantic web. I'm going to the end, I think. Semantic web. This is the intelligent computer system. Okay, this is I'm coming to a computer and I say I want presentation. Or even better, I want some homework or whatever work done for my dissertation by tomorrow on this whatever, on biotechnology, on biology or geography, and wake up next morning, don't have to study all night, and we'll be there. Okay. This is pretty much the computer, the system computer, the IT system thinking for us, knowing our preferences, what we want to do, and is searching the web for us and putting in organized manner. The intelligent computer. Okay, very, very interesting. It's already being used by the advertising companies. When you sometimes search something on the Google, and you have the advertising on the right-hand side, sometimes you see, you can notice that over time, they're going to tailor to your interest the ads. Yeah, Amazon actually is one of the very good examples. When you buy something from Amazon, then you constantly pop-ups right away. Each time you open Amazon, you want to buy your preferable purchase, not what you buy before, but what you can buy next, right? Already intelligently searching for you what is the next thing you might want. Okay. So that's definitely there need a strong business case for one good student who is going to do the job for all of us and come up with a great idea how to do work for us. This would be great. Okay, next one. Long-term evolution. This is the 4G network. And actually, I'm not entirely sure if this should be here. I want to talk to my colleagues because this is not a new technology, has been for a while. And we have different types of LTE. The 4G network is a mobile network. Yes, we have we had before the 2G, the 3G right now we have. And now the government spending a lot of money in licensing this 4G. And why is important 4G and so different to the previous ones? Because it can help with sending so much heavy data. Okay, because we have all the smartphones now. More and more people have smartphones, and we want to use our mobile phones, our smartphones, for other things, except not just talking or sending messages, but for internet, for watching TV, watching movies, having video conferences, and so on. And this requires a heavy data traffic. And current stations and current technology is not prepared for it. Okay, that's why they need much bigger bandwidth, and that is 4G. You had before the WiMAX the idea about WiMAX, but this never took it up. So actually the 4G is replacing this, and there's more and more investment from the mobile operators and telecoms happening. Also governments, because a majority, almost all the world, there is a requirement that all citizens should have to have access to communication. It's not in Russia yet. It has not been implemented. I mean, one of the reasons because the country is so massive. But I know that the Minister of Telecommunication is already thinking about it, how to do it. You know, usually, traditionally, the states were laying down the networks, the cables. But this is one of the solutions, you know, how to avoid, how to solve this, especially in countries like Russia, Canada, and others, when the weather is so severe and so it's difficult to lay cables in the ground, so they have the 4G network. Okay, so this is the future of the mobile TV, you know, general communication between people, and it's more and more heavy data being transferred right now wirelessly. Okay. All right, and next one. This is the last one. The last one is from the healthcare, from the biotech. Genome sequencing. This is, again, something we are familiar with, at least from movies. It's about DNA sequencing, okay? Right now, the technology allows a human body pretty much to analyze, okay? And why this is so important? For several reasons. Because the whole healthcare market, what they need right now, they need something more. Of course, they need to fight with the horrible diseases. You know, one of the biggest problems for them is they haven't found a cancer drug. Okay, there have been so much money spent on it, they still haven't found it. Alzheimer, AIDS, and so on. The terrible diseases still going around, and a lot of people dying of it. And actually, the DNA faster sequences, you know, of the whole human body helps to forecast, prognose how our body, individual person body, is going to behave to certain drugs. Okay, so it will speed up the process of our healing, of how our body is going to behave during certain sicknesses and so on. Okay, so this genome sequences, this the DNA analysis, you know, helping to prevent, to help more to finding the good solution, good drugs, good preventions to the horrible diseases. We haven't found the golden drug yet for. The other thing is, you know, the whole pharmaceutical market, how it is changing right now, is more about personalized medicines. Okay, so right now we're getting sick, we take aspirin. Why not? But when we going forward, people want right now much more personal design drugs for their own body to be healed better, faster. Okay. And that's what it helps. And the other reason is because the analyzing the whole human DNA body, it's becoming more and more cheaper. And this is one of the biggest things in healthcare. Because the biggest problem in the healthcare around the world is very expensive. And governments pretty much don't have money anymore to heal people. Okay? So everything which is about saving costs in healthcare, it's a big thing, and they will invest a lot of money, especially in the prevention. And here, I think they want to decrease the price of the whole human DNA analysis from $20,000 to $1,000. Okay, to speed it up. So this is another one of the hot technologies. Okay, that's it from me. Talk a lot about different things, and I hope you enjoy. Give this an idea what's happening. Thank you. If you have any questions, go ahead. Don't ask me how some of the technologies work. I have no idea.
Ну, сюда. Видите?
Жалко, не работает.
Почему не работает?
Давай этот насыпем.
Okay, Beatrice. So I think one of the most problem in the developing world now is with food. people don't get enough food and don't get the really good food. So there are a lot of the things that China and the US produce synthetic food, and this decrease and making the people health is more bad. What about the developing of the food in worldwide? I mean, what technology can produce more natural food or synthetic food that will be identical to natural food? So, what about this technology?
Okay. I'm not going to answer you directly this question. Actually, I don't know about these agriculture technologies so well, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. Last year in 2011, one of the shocking things I heard was that this was the highest number ever last year. The highest number of children in Africa died of hunger. Last year, in 2011, in the most civilized, high-tech world, the highest number of children ever died of hunger. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And pretty much the world is watching it and allowing it to happen. Okay? This news was not big news, because why should be? So it's a little bit about the attitude. Yes, US and the developed countries produce a lot of food, and they consume too much. I don't know how many of you have been in the States. See how much they give you on the plate. You can live from it for a week. It's just crazy. It's the whole attitude towards food, and it's another the healthcare problem. What the governments are spending money on is about prevention. So later they don't have to spend so much money on healing the people or paying for the hospitals and medicines. Okay, so that's why you have so much, especially in the UK. I've seen so many initiatives about fat people, about heart diseases. Eat less, eat more healthy food, and eat more organic food, and so on and so on. But this is very much targeted because we don't want to later to heal you, because you're going to have 3 heart attacks and you're going to spend who knows how many nights in the hospital, and we have to pay for it. Yeah, so lead a healthy life, and we all will be a little bit more happy. But about coming back to the question about the food, I honestly don't know. Can look it up for you if you're particularly interested in this. But there have been so much happening in the agriculture and so on. But one of the issues, it's less about the technology, it's about the attitude toward it, and it's still really sad and shocking that has been really not taken care of. I think the other priorities took over the last few years. That's why. But we have done some interesting analysis in Africa about the food, and the first step to prevent what is happening, it's the industrialization of Africa. The next 5 years, the African continent is going to be the most invested in terms of improving infrastructure. And definitely this will be one step towards changing the situation and improving also the weight of food industry over there. Okay, I mean, one of the surprising things I've seen in Russia about the food industry, that so much imported food is here. And why Russia cannot produce good food, good potatoes, which will actually last for a week and don't rotten after 2 days, because they have to be imported from Spain or something. I think it's quite embarrassing that and hopefully is going to change soon. Okay.
Hi, my name is Eugenia. Thank you for your lecture. And the question is, you told that only 20% of all the new technologies are from big companies and all the other are from startups. And among those 15 or 20 who passed the valley of death, what is the percentage of the technologies from big companies and from the startups? Can you tell the number?
I have no idea. I don't know. But it's very common for big corporations. They they're always looking up for the next big thing. And for them, especially the last decade, after what happened with Google, the last 20 years, the Google, Facebook, and other people, they produce something in the garages, and now what's happening? They for them, big competitors or big innovators are young people who are doing something in the university, student houses, and so on. And very often, what happens? They offer them jobs right away, because when they offer them jobs, whatever they invent, it belongs to the corporation. Okay, and that's why some of the smart ones they pretty much don't even take the jobs offer. Even they are millions. They're offering really nice packages because they know they can do it better themselves. Yeah, but this particular another from the depends probably of the regions because it's about the ecosystem. I would think the majority would be the big corporations because it's very much still. Developed by either state relation enterprises or incentives, which is a good thing right now because definitely this investment in new technologies needs a big push, and this is a good push, but it does need to develop a little bit differently going forward. In the US, definitely, it will be the startups majority where the great ideas come up. How Silicon Valley was created. It was, few smart guys who drop out from university and come up with the good ideas. It's not idea for you, of course, because it's good to finish university, but that's how they started. Yeah. You have.
Have one more question. Again, thank you for election. It was just brilliant. I have a question about the cloud technologies. Well, you haven't mentioned it, but I thought it's really progressive and it's right on the top. So what do you think? Is it really innovative? Is it something which you should do, which is, something you should invest in, or it's already out of date?
No, it's definitely not out of date, and it's a big thing. The problem with the cloud, it's great. I absolutely love cloud computing, and I think cloud computing brings so many opportunities, and also not just for private use, for corporations and so on, but also for science, because they can share so many things between themselves. One of the nice things I heard recently was about in the biotechnology. Actually, it was a Russian scientist who lives in the Silicon Valley who came up with a fantastic solution in cloud technology, cloud computing, how was him who can share with a different his innovations in biotech. And biotech is a tough one because it takes so many years to develop. It's much harder. So this person in this Russian scientist living in Silicon Valley wanted to share with others innovators and scientists in this area, and for the first time actually used cloud computing in science to use that. I mean, fantastic. How much time can be saved? How much money and energy when the scientists much more share what actually they are doing, and this is an enabler. Okay. I think the problem with the cloud computing is security. Okay, it's about the security of data information sharing. Okay, because there is so much protection. I don't believe in a bank, for example, any financial institution is going to soon implement cloud computing because it's about the security, data security. It probably might be more implemented for private use, for smaller businesses use. But the states, bigger corporations, financial institutions who usually have the money to do that are still looking into it as something interesting. But they have to solve the issue of the internet security, the network security. Okay. Yep.
Oh. Okay. My name.
Next one.
Okay. My name is Yuri. I'm a student of Open University and IT entrepreneur. My question is, what do you think? Where are technologies snapshots in the internet and online technology?
About
which technology will be snapshots?
Will be the next big thing? This is the question I think Cisco would pay us $1 billion to answer. Because ICT is the most mean industry. they are the most high-tech savvy. They're always looking the next big thing, because things are changing very, very fast, very fast. Okay, and why? Because the demand is really, really not high, but demanding. Okay, the consumers are very, very demanding. I have a 10-year-old daughter. Okay, and I spoke to her 2 days ago. I said, "Oh, wow! Look, Mac introduced a new iPad 3," and she said, "So what? It's just upgrade. Doesn't give me new, I can't do anything new with it. It's just better picture, faster. So what? I want something better. I want halogen. I want this. Oh my God! What a demanding person." And this is the new generation. Actually, this is something which we're going to talk about in the next week, I think on Saturday. It's about the megatrends, the world megatrends. And this is one of the generation, I think she's already generation Z or whatever. They are so demanding. It's very, very difficult to satisfy people. This is why the IT and ICT, the telecom and IT is the most difficult one. So they are looking into different spaces now. The IT is going into energy market because of the smart grids. They're going into healthcare IT, everything. They're looking absolutely everywhere, not just consumer electronics. Okay, so when you think about the ICT industry in general, think in much wider perspective, because you might find, if you're also innovator and entrepreneur, try to look into different sectors, utilities, how the smart factory. This was exactly introducing the IT technology into a traditional factory floor. Okay, so in order to invent something really, really good and catchy, you might widen your perspective into different sectors, because communication is going everywhere, and the consumer electronics is the most difficult one, because they're so competitive and they have demanding little 10 years old who are just not happy, okay? And needs a lot of investment, and it's difficult to come up with some good ideas. And also, the ICT market probably was they lost the biggest amount of money over those years, because they were always investing in the new. They always were thinking about what is the next one, what is the next thing, big thing I'm going to make a lot of money out. And so they were investing in different things, different devices, and they lost. So it's a risky one, but I think gives opportunity. The convergence of different technologies and convergence between different industry gives opportunities as well. Okay.
Beatrice, hello. It works. Hello. My name is Lecция. I also want to thank you for the very interesting lecture. And I have a question. You've made the analysis of technologies which are now mostly invested. And in Russia, it's now becoming popular, so-called foresights, where people are trying to predict the future, and particular technology future. And one of the foresights, which I'm also part of, considering that in 10 to maybe 20 years, most of the parts of your human body will more or less become cyber. It means most of the parts are already being able to done out of artificial materials. And the general trend, at least what we were discussing in our community, is towards that maybe in 50 years, everything, including brain, will be done out of artificial materials. So I would like to understand if it's in line with the general concept of your presentation, because I didn't hear it among the trends.
It is probably, but it's spread much more across different technologies. I mean, you can understand this differently. What you just said, we can think about medical devices that you can replace every part of the human body with something. But also, I know that different activities in our lives can be done by cyber technology, right?
No, I'm talking directly about the human body.
The human body.
Not the supporting devices, but the human body itself.
So you have the, if I understand correctly, you have the semantic web, for example. Okay, it's thinking for you. So it's a one step towards this. I'm not saying that this is replacing fully, but one step towards. Obviously there was going to be several other technologies before this will happen, before we will replace the human brain or our thinking. But definitely, I think semantic web is a milestone.
Let me reshape the question. So now lots of human body parts are already being done in labs artificially, including heart, legs, skin and others. So the question is...
Bionic.
Bionic, yeah. Is this a part of the most invested technologies, or this is not considered as the hot?
It is. It is. I didn't present it here as the top 10, but you have this when you have the technology web. Damn it! Hang on. When you have the technology web, this one. Just put it. Yeah. You have the medical devices and imaging technologies, and I know that the bionic. Actually, I met some students recently in Canada who are working on who were students and have fantastic some innovation in the bionic or whatever medical devices technology, and they found some venture capitals. And one of the reasons why they found it, was not because they were so innovative, but because what they innovated was cheap to implement. Okay, another driver about the healthcare, making more available with lower cost. Okay, definitely. So yes, it is included.
Can I ask you to show the slide with this curves for the investment? I think it was number 9 or something like that. I just wanted to clarify. No, later. Yeah. Before. Yeah, this one. Yeah. I just wanted to ask about, as we can see, all the shapes here are basically S-curves, right? It's exponential growth at first, and then it sort of becomes stable. Yeah, they all become constant. All these lines, you see, the trend is that they stop growing rapidly and just start to go slightly normal, general thing, which is common for everybody. Doesn't it mean, I don't want to sound provocative, but doesn't it mean that all these trends are actually old already? Because basically, if something stops growing exponentially, it means that from the new hot trend, it actually becomes normal industry.
It doesn't matter, because it's all about the application. Okay, if it finds new buyer, a new interest, it's not about the high tech. It's about technologies which are the most interesting because they find the applications.
So you mean
I'll give you an example. Last year, one of the top 10, I don't know, dropped this year, but was laser technology, and not laser is since 1950s available, but because it found a new adoption into something else. Okay, it was used for many years into something, and bam, and jump into something new. Okay, the laser now is being used again by military and some others, and it's again massive investment into laser technology, which is not a new technology. Is just being more evolving technology,
so basically,
the enabling technology.
Do I get you right if I say that this is the possible estimation of the market which is empty up to now? On these curves, we don't see the market that's already fitted with the technology. It's just the opening where we can probably go, because it's the place where we understand that there is a demand and we understand that there is technology for it, but currently this place is not taken, right?
I think it's both. It's very flexible the way how you're thinking. It's both. Sometimes it's just something new which wasn't done before, and sometimes it's a technology which is already there, it's existing, but suddenly it got a spark from somewhere else. There's a new demand came, new industry asks for it, or somebody adds something more, innovated the technology even more, evolved the technology more, that it takes up. So it could be both. It could be something absolutely new, but it could be something which is already existing and being used by some industries.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I can give you mine.
Thank you for an interesting introduction in a world of prospective technologies. Is it possible in your mind to recreate Silicon Valley in Russia by the projects like Skолково Innovation Hub or the others? Or this idea is false in your mind?
I was worried the question will come up. Okay, Skолково is a great thing, and of course you know that I would say that. It's a little bit different, but you always have to think that we cannot apply what happened somewhere else to now to the same place. We cannot just copy something into a different geography or in different time. Okay, and I tell you why I'm trying. I don't want to be complicated. I mean, Skолково is a great thing, and I know Russia has lost so many years of innovation, and is just behind into so many industries. So, initiative like Skолково is so much needed. Okay, it's absolutely necessary, and thank God it happened. Okay, and you are very lucky to be part of it. Really, I mean, it's historical. You know, it really is. You know, doing something like this in Russia. You know. It's a big thing. It's really, really big thing. It is different, but the country is different, and it's in different moment right now. You know, when the Silicon Valley, the U.S. Silicon Valley was starting and was developing, you know, yes, it is started from a few guys who drop off of university because they had some great ideas and got some money and started their own business. This would not happen here because there's no environment for it. There's no good legislation for startups here yet. It's being created, and also needs a little bit development. You look how many years, you know, the Silicon Valley has been developing until it had happened. You know, Skолково is being built and developed by a state and big corporations. Okay, which, when you think about it, is a contradiction to the startups and innovators, right? But it's necessary at this point and in this country, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. It's just my concept, because it needs this massive push in order to bring Russia to the right track. Okay, and needs the investment, and it's really in a hurry because he wants to be part of the global powers, global world, you know, to catch up with everyone, gives you a future to stay in this country and to build it, yeah. And also not just this country, but most importantly, being part of the international community. I think many people already in Russia realize it cannot be just Russia and we want to have this technology and we're going to do it our way and so on and so on. They have to be part of the international community of innovators, of science, of business. Okay, and that will profit everyone. So yes, Skолково is a great thing. It's very important. It's a massive milestone, and gives opportunities for many. Even it is very differently developing, like was Silicon Valley in the US. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for the lecture. Just small announcement before leaving. I want to introduce Anna Starikova. She will be the leader of our joint collaboration between Open University and Frost and Sullivan. So if you have any question further to our next lecture and next project, please forward them to Anna.
Maybe I will just 1 minute I spent on about the project.
We have more than 1 minute. I just have to leave, so okay. I just make this announcement, and we have other questions. So please continue.
Okay, just to give you a heads up, it's next week on Saturday, right? Okay, I'm coming back, and it's gonna to be long evening. No, we're going to talk about not technologies, really strictly, but we're going to talk about megatrends. And we will be initiating a project together with Frost Sullivan and Skолково Open University. Megatrends, what are megatrends? Megatrends are the economic, technology, social, and so on trends which are changing the world and impacting our lives. Pretty much we're going to predict what's going to happen in Russia in 2020. Okay? Mm-hmm.
St. Petersburg students watching us now, and they sent some questions. Some of them you have asked, but maybe other question.
Okay.
Can you ask now? They
watching.
Some
Okay.
you can omit it.
So this is about the technology. Okay, thank you for the question, and hello to St. Petersburg. I just finishing off on the mega trends. What we'll be doing next week, if you wish to come, very welcome. We'll be working in the different groups, workshops over the next several weeks, working on the mega trends, the changes. About one group will be about social trends. What is going to be next generation? Okay, and I'll be introducing you next week to the global trends, and in the working groups of the next few weeks, we will be working on the tracks designing especially to Russia. Okay, so this just gives you head ups. I think we can distribute more precise idea what it's going to be about. Okay, so the question from St. Petersburg from George Letkish. Do you think the economic and political leverage will also affect the prospects of technological development, or social significance will increase its weight and value? I really, really hope so. Actually, the technologies, the fast growth in high tech, our lives being driven by new innovation technologies, actually is the hope that our society will improve and change, and our lives will be better, and our environment. One of the things we mentioned today is about, the news that last year was the highest number of children died of hunger in Africa. This should not happen. Not today. 1,000 years or 100 years ago. Not now, when we have so much available technologies. This just should not happen. That's why, environment. I mean, are we really surprised that there is so many natural disasters happening? In the U.S., only last year, the number of natural disasters was the amount what happened in the last 80 years. I mean, it's crazy. It's just terrifying what's going to happen going forward. I mean, are we surprised? Well, not really, because, we don't really care about the environment, and the corporations do have the social responsibility or the green only because they are forced to, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't really care. But the technologies will help with it, okay? Will improve lives, and one of the trends we're going to talk about next week is about the social way of changing, or way of thinking about the new generation. Okay, they are less demanding about goods and other things, but they are much more responsible what's happening around. So definitely, technology is the enabler to improve society. Okay, and in terms of the political leverage, yes, those are governments' responsibilities around the world to make this happen. Okay, by introducing new legislations. And three questions from Oleg. Okay. He's got questions about his current business. On the corporate, what trends appear on the corporate market? Late personalization, knowledge management. Do you believe that a low-level IT outsourcing can be successful as an example of non-innovative business? Interesting. I know what you mean about. Yes, it can be, because one of the. I think the outsourcing of IT is one of the source of some innovators. Because 20 years ago we started to outsource, for example, to India, a lot of our IT services. How many now India has the biggest number of the innovators in IT industry, because they learn. Okay, they learn, they evolve, and that's how it's happening. About interdisciplinary interaction, which sciences will be the most involved into IT, linguistics, sociology, which practical results will it have, programmation, for example, into IT. Yes, linguistics. I know there's a lot of investment in Russia about terms of the linguistics. Interesting, I think, because of the language barrier. I mean, I'm so happy to see so many people speaking good English, but actually the level of English in Russia is still quite low. So maybe this is one of the reasons so many people are inventing in linguistics, and others can bother about it, don't even think about it anymore. In the IT world, you know, it's like I said before, it's very specific, it's very demanding, it's moody, and unpredictable sometimes, and risky. But definitely looking into different other sectors, like healthcare, energy, utilities, and so on, is one of the biggest opportunity in the IT sector in general, because it goes outside of the circle, okay? And also the IT industry is the most likely to do it, okay? We see so many industries which they don't speak to each other because they're not used to, because this is not the way how they done it. You know, the healthcare, you know, it's crazy that we go to the doctor and we still get a written prescription, you know, still nowadays. You know, when you think about it, and also when you're getting sick, why don't we just call the doctor and talk about? Why do we have to always, you know, go and see? And why we don't use internet and other inventions? You know, because it's this traditional way of doing things. And IT industry, the IT people actually are the most outgoing and probable to go to other industries and talk to them, okay, and to converge with them, okay. And that's, I think, is one interesting angle to look into it, okay? Rather than traditional way of looking into IT, which is already really, really competitive, okay? Well, thank you so much, George and Oleg, for your questions. And if there is anything else, is one more
question.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question, for your lecture. I have one question. You told about sequencing of DNA, and that's just one part, very interesting and fundamental part of much greater area of market called commercialization of medical information. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us something about that area? How it's developing and what is its future?
Mm-hmm. Healthcare IT in general. I mean, healthcare is interesting one because it's so problematic. You know, it's you know the states, countries, governments don't have a choice. They have to heal people. You know, people get sick no matter what's happening, right? If there is economic downturn or upturn or whatever, people get sick no matter what. So the healthcare expenditure on people buying medicines, you know, it's always constant. The biggest problem is there's more people around the world, and there's less money for taking care of them. Okay, so yes, there will be more more access and commercialize new technologies into the biotechnology, which is very expensive to do, and also medical devices. I mean, I think it's very complicated. You know, I gave you the example at the beginning about this medical device, the small diagnostic instrument, which we could use it. You know, if we get, you know, so easy. So good thing to do. So much, it would save us so much money, so much hassle, especially to older people. But still, it's not available in the market because you know, probably the big pharmaceutical don't let it happen. So there's a lot of, you know, complications. Also, the legislations are very different in different countries, very contradicting. The U.S. is very, you know, people over there's no really healthcare system over there. How scary is that? You know, Europe has a fantastic social system, and they're taking pretty good care of people. But at the same time, what happened last year in Germany, what they decided to do, the government decided not to buy, if I'm correct, not to buy or invest into new medicines which are improvement of the previous one. Okay, so for example, we have let's say the aspirin, right, which will heal our flu, And then we have someone who works on the aspirin, which heal our flu and headache and back pain and a few other things. But it's more expensive, okay? So the government would not buy that. Stick with the old one because it's just too expensive. That's scary. You know, they don't want to feel us better. You know, that's not good. But because it's expensive, okay? Right now, it's a very interesting situation what's happening because there's the big blockbuster drugs, as we call it, you know, which where only have the patent, you know, in the pharmaceutical industry have the patent, which lasts for several years after they introduce it to the market, and they own it. And after these years, by legislation, they are forced to give it to the market so other companies can copy, right? And sell it for, I don't know, 1/10 of the price. And that's what now everybody wants. They want the cheap medicines, you know, so everything is about, in the healthcare, about reducing the costs, okay? So there's going to be more and more ideas definitely around this. I don't have the best answer to it, but definitely, you know, anything, we talk about the bionic devices, you know, which have been for years in the market, and it's very interesting. I know that in Israel in particular, they've done a lot of innovation into it. But what is the most promising? The one which is the cheapest, okay? So all of this is going to be about decreasing the costs in the healthcare, okay? All the innovations, I'm pretty much sure, okay, in the healthcare market. All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a good night, and hopefully see you not tomorrow. See you next week, maybe. Bye.